Hey you, yeah you who clicked on this video. Thanks for giving our channel a shot. And if you will, please do us the honor of watching the video all the way through. Appreciate it. Now onto the video.
So, fans in genre television have had to undergo a lot of abuse. And one of the worst pieces of abuse that we've had to undergo has been the bait and switch. Now, with that being said, if you know how the bait and switch works, but for those that are uninitiated, the bait and switch basically works like this. A bait and switch is when a company takes an existing property with an existing fan base and to push an agenda, whether that be political, social, or what have you, uses that particular property as a platform to push an agenda of some sort. That's usually how it works. But, as you'll see in this upcoming list, those results and the way that they do this may vary. So without further ado, let's get into it. Top 10 worst bait and switch moments in TV. Number 10. Number 10 is from the series Iron Fist. Iron Fist was a Netflix original series from a collaboration of Netflix and Marvel. And these shows were really cool. They really showed the more gritty, underground, street levels heroes of the Marvel Universe. But one of the, let's say, less than desirable series was Iron Fist. Now, personally, I love Iron Fist, the character in the comics. Danny Rand is awesome. However, what we have in this series was a really weak T-main character. The performances were not good. The script wasn't good. But when season 2 came around, it kind of, it elevated. It wasn't as bad as season 1, and it was almost to the point where it could stand next to the other Netflix heroes like Luke Cage, Daredevil, Jessica Jones, and what have you. But the problem was at the end of season 2. The end of season 2, we get one of the first major bait and switch moments, and that being Colleen Wing taking the power of the Iron Fist from one of the villains known as Davos. And she takes his powers and basically is now usurping Iron Fist. And when this happens, Danny's cool with it, everybody's cool with it, and you can tell that the series, had it gotten a third season, was going to go in a certain direction as far as the Danny Rand character being sidelined and basically Colleen Wing taking over as Iron Fist, thus making Iron Fist the mantle and using the Iron Fist series as a platform rather than sticking to what is known canonically as Danny Rand being the Iron Fist. So, number 9. Number 9 is season 3, and this is the entire season 3 of Westworld. Westworld is an HBO original series, and Westworld seasons 1 and 2, phenomenal television. More importantly, Westworld season 1. Anthony Hopkins' performance in this series was top notch. Almost everybody's performances, whether we're talking about Ed Harris's performance or, I can't remember his name, but he played Cyclops in the original X-Men series of films, or Dolores, or even Thandie Newton as Maeve. These were just great characters, and you really got a sense of who they were. And even though the series wasn't super clear because it was a mystery unraveling, you just tuned in every week to see what was going on in the Westworld park and how it really impacted the wider world without actually having to be in the wider world. Well, season 3, they actually get into the wider world, and you're thinking, oh, okay, this is going to be awesome. We're going to see how the androids are affected by being free, how that really deals with them as characters, how people like Bernard, who was my favorite character, how he's going to really manage being in the real world as opposed to being stuck in the park. But no, that's not what you get. What you get is feminine, basically super feminist girl power throughout the whole series. It's basically this dick measuring contest between the characters of Dolores and Maeve, who by all accounts should be on the same side because they're both trying to free themselves of the chains of their creators. But that's not really what you get. You just get this really crappy sci-fi schlock. They add in Jesse from Breaking Bad. It's just not good. And it really just takes away from the series. I actually stopped watching it. And in fact, I recently found out that season 4 is happening currently. And to be honest with you, I didn't care. Like, it literally didn't matter to me. And honestly, I just kind of fell off of the show. And it's unfortunate, but such is the way of the bait and switch. Number 8. Number 8 is Moon Knight. Now, in Moon Knight, the way that the show is advertised, you have Oscar Isaac playing Moon Knight, and they're going with the more recent version of Moon Knight where he's dealing with multiple personality disorder, and because of this disorder, he switches back and forth between personalities at inconvenient times. It's an interesting premise for a show. I more so enjoy classic Moon Knight, where he was using his multiple personas as disguises, and he wasn't like super mentally unstable. But you know, hey, to each his own. But here's the problem. The problem is that as the show progresses, especially after episode 2, you get this other character in the form of Mark Spector's ex-wife, Layla. And Layla is the star of the show, make no mistake. She tells Mark what to do. She informs him of how to use his powers, not having powers of her own. And the series just progresses and progresses until you ultimately realize that the show is about Layla. It's a vehicle to introduce Layla as a superhero, which happens in the climax episode at the end, and at the season finale it is revealed that Layla is in fact her own hero, and that this series has been pointless from the beginning because it's not about Moon Knight, it's about her. Again, another bait and switch from Disney Marvel. Number 7, the Watchmen series. Now, this is an HBO original series done by the show killer, the most infamous man in sci-fi television, and probably one of the worst offenders when it comes to just giving you mystery boxes, stupid storylines, plot holes, and just plot that goes nowhere. And I'm talking about none other than Damon Lindelof, his bald-headed stupid face. Anyway, so this series centers on, it's basically a sequel series to the Watchmen films. And in this, they completely disrespect what has come before. So if you know anything about the Watchmen, you know that it's basically a group of superheroes, or actually just costume vigilantes. And these costume vigilantes, they assist the police, they stop petty crimes until one day a actual superhero comes because of a lab experiment in the form of Dr. Manhattan. Dr. Manhattan has literal reality altering abilities. Now, in this series, they go out of their way. They do a bunch of race swaps, in particular Dr. Manhattan. They focus on identity politics throughout the entire series. It's somehow about racism, even in a world where most people are afraid of an alien invasion. They somehow manage to shoehorn racism, when we know that if at any point we were ever afraid of an alien invasion, racism would go away because we'd be more concerned about staying alive as a human race, which was the whole point of the Watchmen series, was to galvanize all the different nations and tribes of the world into a united force for the betterment of mankind. They take characters like the Ozymandias character and make him a utter buffoon, using fart and queef jokes all throughout. All the original characters, whether we're talking about Silk Spectre, Dr. Manhattan, Ozymandias, or Night Owl, are basically disrespected either directly or indirectly in favor of new characters. In particular, the main character played by Regina King, who's not bad in the role. It's just that the show isn't Watchmen, and it's consistently trying to replace the original characters, whether we're talking about Ozymandias having some sort of illegitimate daughter that is somehow, the smartest woman and smarter than him, and it's one of those, bestest ever situations where all the female characters are just so much better than their male counterparts, and it's really irritating. And so, of course, this show got canceled, went down in flames because the fans were pissed, and that's again what happens with the bait and switch. So now let's move on to number 6. Number 6, Hawkeye. Now, I originally was enjoying the Hawkeye series, and that's because Jeremy Renner's Hawkeye is actually one of my favorite Avengers, just because he's so out of place in a world where you have gods and super beings and all of these, different types of superpowered heroes, and his power is basically that he has perfect aim. And so in this world, the fact that he can be a hero and stand amongst these titans is just so fascinating to me. Well, when they introduced the Hawkeye series, what you have is a character that we know about from the comics. You don't know about this character unless you've read comics. This character is Kate Bishop. And Kate Bishop looks up to Clinton Barton because Clinton Barton, she saw Clinton Barton saving New York during the events of the original Avengers movie. Now, this character isn't as egregious as a lot of the other bait and switch characters because she, at some point, is basically being mentored by Clinton Barton, even though he's pretty much doing this against his will. But they have a pretty good relationship. The series kind of takes a turn, though, especially when, spoilers for a show if you haven't seen it, go away, but you should know that by now. When the Kingpin character is introduced, and this is the same Kingpin, or at least the same actor, Vincent D'Onofrio, from the Daredevil series. And we know from the show that Kate Bishop, while she is skilled, she lacks experience, especially battle experience, and she lacks judgment. And she goes toe-to-toe with the Kingpin, somebody that Daredevil was nearly killed by. And she is able to defeat this person. So one of Spider-Man, Daredevil's most powerful villains, and through the power of the Vagine, she's able to just decimate the Kingpin. And that's when the series kind of takes a turn and it becomes about her and not about Clinton Barton and her relationship, or being kind of a partnership, and thus the bait and switch happens yet again. So let's move on to number 5. Number 5 is the Witcher series. Now, I have to do the whole series because both seasons 1 and 2 do the same thing. The series is called The Witcher. So even if you're only, slightly familiar with the character of Geralt of Rivia, you would be assuming that the show would be about either him as the Witcher or any other Witcher. No. So the first season basically centers around the character of Yennefer of Vengerberg. Yennefer of Vengerberg is front and center throughout almost the entire first season, with Geralt sprinkled in, just to, almost like it's like to keep the license, they have to put Geralt in there. Like, that's how this series basically works. You get Henry Cavill here and there, but it is mostly about Yennefer of Vengerberg. Then season 2 comes around, and it is not about Yennefer of Vengerberg. However, it is about every other character, in particular the Ciri character. This series is all about her. She's all throughout, but it's also about the side characters, whether we're talking about the main witch in the council, or we're talking about Yennefer of Vengerberg, or we're talking about Triss Marigold. All of these characters get more time collectively than Geralt of Rivia, and it's so annoying because most people come to the series, male and female alike, to see Geralt. Now, I don't have a problem with these characters. I love the Witcher novels. I love the Witcher games, but I came here to see Geralt, and that's how most people feel. And yet it seems like with each season, they're just sidelining Geralt more and more, and it is very, very irritating. I actually have a review on my channel where I talk about this. Now, I enjoyed the action scenes with Geralt because there were more of them in season 2, but the narrative overall is not about him whatsoever, and it's just annoying. So number 4, oh man, number 4 almost got higher on the list, and it probably should have, but it's still not the most egregious, and that is Tila and Kevin Smith's Masters of the Universe Revelations. Oh my god. So this just goes beyond the pale. I mean, oh god. So not only do they consistently disrespect He-Man throughout the entire series, killing him within the first 2 episodes. He's not even in, I think, about 4 episodes. Then when they do bring him back, they mortally wound him. They turn him into Savage Hulk. And all the while, all they can do is talk about how great and wonderful Teela is and how she should have been the champion and blah, 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 blah. Oh my God. And the narrative going around the series, like all of the behind the scenes stuff, whether we're talking about Kevin Smith actively lying about bait and switching and basically gaslighting the fan base, or calling the YouTube channel Clownfish TV liars, whatever you want to talk about, this series from start to finish was a bait and switch. From production to its inception is literally just bait and switch at its most pure. And the fact that now, even with the terrible press, the terrible user reviews, just the reaction, even it being dropped from the top 10 within the first week of it premiering on Netflix, it still got a second season. So I don't even know. I mean, we'll see how it goes, but this was definitely just, it definitely raised my blood pressure on this one, man. So now let's go to number 3. Number 3. The Kenobi series. In particular, the character of Leia and all the other characters that basically make Obi-Wan a guest star in his own series, whether we're talking about Reva or we're talking about oh god, I can't even remember her name, but she's played by oh goodness, dang it, I can't think of her name to save my life, but Miss Poochie from Human Target, or Luther's wife in the series Luther. She was, everybody, just all the characters were more powerful, more effective than Obi-Wan. Even little 10-year-old Leia, who looks like she's like 6, but it was so bad. And it's so bad not just because the show is called Obi-Wan, but because it takes these jumps in logic that make no sense. We knew that Obi-Wan Kenobi's main mission, being on Tatooine, was to look after and protect Luke until it was time for him to be trained. We knew that. That was what was said at the end of episode 3. That was what was supposed to happen. And yet, what do we get? We get a show where everybody's saving Obi-Wan's life. Everybody's got more screen time than Obi-Wan. And you're literally just continuously breaking canon in order to push these stupid little agendas like the Force is female. And so that's why this is so high on the list, because it has literally broken an institution in breaking the original trilogy's canon in Star Wars. So let's move on to number 2. Number 2. Now this hurt. So as you know, Halo had a TV series that came on the Paramount Plus streaming service, and because of this, or yes, Paramount Plus, there's a CBS All Access. I can never remember what, it's always changing its name, but screw it. Anyway, so this series was one of the worst video game adaptations I have ever seen in my life. Whether we're talking about a mostly stoic protagonist in the idea of Master Chief taking off his helmet, talking, being butt naked, just everything that you can think of to disrespect this character they did. And then to top off the icing on the shit cake, then we get a scene at the season finale in which the character of Cortana essentially completely removes and wipes Master Chief's consciousness from his body and then starts riding him like a goddamn mech suit. And now Cortana is basically Master Chief. If this wasn't just the biggest screw you to the fans, I don't know what is. I mean, they took such a gigantic dump on this that the original writer for Halo had to come out and say, I don't know what this is. That's how terrible it was. Now, moving on to number 1. Now, number 1 was a hard decision for me, but let's do it. Number 1, Game of Thrones. Arya Stark killing the Night King instead of Jon Snow. So for 6 seasons, we had been building up the conflict between Jon Snow and the Night King. Jon Snow had suffered many slights and injuries and just out-and-out defeats at the hands of the Night King. So we knew beyond a shadow of a doubt that when it came down to the showdown, it was going to be one of the most epic battles in this series. And yet, it was the cheapest, crappiest, worst moment in the entire series when Jon Snow is left yelling at a dragon and Arya Stark now goes to fight the most powerful and obviously the biggest threat to Westeros and kills him in less than 20 seconds. Oh my God. I remember watching this as it was happening, mouth agape in disbelief that they had done this. And Dan and Dave, I will never forgive those idiots for doing this, not only to such a fantastic story by George R.R. Martin, which, I mean, cough, cough, he will probably never finish, but just, it was just so disrespectful to the narrative that had come up until this point, and it was such a letdown. And, you know, I know that the fans also felt this way because I'm one of the fans, and I don't know, man. It's just, it broke that story. I barely could get through the rest of season 7 going into season 8. Like, I literally had to watch it in like chunks after it had already aired. Because it was so egregious and so terrible. So, that's my list, guys. Let me know what you think, what you would have added, what you would have taken out of this list as far as bait and switch moments, and I'll throw it in the comment section and we'll have a discussion about it. So we'll see you on the next one. 8-Bit Heroes out. Peace.
If you'd like to give a shout out on the channel, then hit that like button, maybe share it with a couple of friends, and do us the biggest honor of all, and subscribe to the channel so you can join the 8-Bit Heroes family. And while you're at it, hit that bell icon so you can be notified when our new videos come out.